Hello everybody and welcome to another FIFA based discussion video of sorts, I suppose you could say. I did one of these a few days ago, sort of on the topic of FIFA 19 in general, and why I feel like it's quite an important game in the series and for EA to get right. If you haven't seen that, it's in the description below. I'd recommend checking that out and then coming back to this. I did say in that I was, thinking about doing one specifically for career mode, because career mode is the mode of choice for me. It's the mode I've always enjoyed the most, and it's the mode I play a lot of now as well. And I feel like there's a lot of things I can talk about. I do love a rant. I do love going on. So it felt like something I wanted to do. So I thought, let's go ahead and do it. I picked out 12 things that I feel like should be needed in career mode. Now, just to make it just sort of as a disclaimer, I'm aware that you can't add all of these things into FIFA 19. However, some of them would be a good start, and obviously you can work your way up and add more and more to career mode, because I feel like a mode like career mode, you need to build it up more and more as the games get bigger and they get better. Career mode should surely have the features it's got and have something new and something new and something new just constantly. However, I don't feel like we got that. If anything, we've lost a lot of things, and I think some of the things I talk about are actually things we've had before, and have just gone. There's so many things, in fact, and I feel like that's just something they need to stop now, because career mode's in danger of becoming really, really close to dead, essentially, in my opinion, which is gutting for someone that loves career mode. And in fact, I buy FIFA every year. I have done since FIFA 4. And I don't feel like I would want to if there wasn't a career mode on it. And it's getting to the point now where it feels similar to that there might as well not be a career mode on the game because they haven't done anything. So that I kind of cover that in, like I say, I think FIFA 19, not just for career mode, but in general, is important for FIFA as a whole. But like I say, this is just about career mode, so we're going to get started. The first one I'd like to talk about is the financial side of things. Finances in game and having realistic finances in game. Now, they have, in the last year or so, well, I think it was this year, they have added the finance page, or was it like, it might recently, is my point. They added the finances section to the career mode, like, main hub menu. And from there you can look at where your profit's being made, shirt sales, transfers, sales and things like that, season tickets, and you can see where the losses are, and so ultimately you can see whether you're making money or losing money. And that's also where you go if you want to reallocate your budget from wage budget to transfer budget. They've added this, and this is good. It's good that they have added this. It's clubs obviously do need to make money and things like that, and they do have club worths, and that is something that should be in the game. However, it feels very, very linear and unimportant, I suppose. If you're, no matter what's happening, whether you're making money or losing money, it's unlikely to affect you in any way. The only way it might affect you is if you fall spectacularly short of a financial objective in the objectives, and that might affect your overall rating. But having sort of tested it and tried to go as low as possible in terms of the ratings, rarely ever does missing out, even if it's a critical one, lead to the sack. You've got to miss out on pretty much all of them to get sacked. So it never really affects you in game. Now, if you think back to like FIFA 06, and FIFA 06 is the one I've got memory on, because FIFA 06 I remember specifically, I'm pretty sure I got sacked literally because of the financial situation. Now, back then, it wasn't actually real money, it wasn't real currency at the time, it was like FIFA points or whatever, FIFA currency. But after every game, you'd get a memo through one of the pages between the end of the game and when you reach the main menu. One of those pages would be a financial breakdown of things such as weekly wages, travelling expense, ticket sales, everything, and that would have an effect on your budget. Obviously, if you were losing money every week, you'll have less budget to spend on players. And when spending on players, you have to consider the fact you might be losing money at some points in the season, and you don't want to dip under red. And I remember specifically FIFA 6, I'm pretty sure I got sacked for being in the red. I got into a stage where I was in the red, and despite the fact I was with Portsmouth on FIFA 06, I got into the top 4. Despite that, I got sacked, and it's because the money wasn't there. I was losing loads of money, and I feel like that's something they should bring back. They should make it so, look, if you're not going to spend money correctly, you're going to suffer. They've got slightly more realistic with things like prize money in the Premier League specifically. So they've done that already. So it will be quite difficult, especially if you're higher up in the, let's say, a higher up career mode like Chelsea or something, or any Premier League team. But if you somehow get relegated, I know specifically on FIFA, it's incredibly rare for you to get relegated. You have to have a bit of a mare to do so. But if you do get relegated, or if you move to a club that's been relegated, how do you deal with like the losing money? I know you get parachute payments could be added as a result of this, obviously, but you will be losing money, and I feel like that would be a great dynamic to have. And even going further than that, obviously going into red, which would mean you can't spend money because you don't have any. Your transfer budget is depleted completely. You're in the red. You've got no money to spend. They could also go along the Football Manager route, and I feel like Football Manager should be an inspiration for a lot of new features, to be honest, where you have a wage budget and a transfer budget, and you can't go over the wage budget or anything. Because now at this point you don't get a wage budget per se. You get an amount that you can spend on transfers and an amount you can spend on wages in each season. Obviously that goes up and down depending on sales and things like that. But you don't get a set wage budget in a sense. You just get a wage budget that you can use to add to the actual wage budget. So maybe they should think about copying that sort of route where you get a transfer budget, you have a club value or what the club is currently got in overall balance, you have a wage budget, and then you have a wage transfer budget essentially. That could be something they look at. Could they add in administrations as well? Administration seems to be a slightly less common occurrence now. It seems to peak quite a bit around sort of the 2010 era. But if you do go into the shit enough, is that possibly a thing they should add? That would make it a lot more realistic. But yeah, that's the first one, finances, and it's just occurring to me that this might take a long time. Second point, youth squads and youth leagues. I feel like this is something that's always been just left to rust. We've had the youth squads in the system, or the way it works now, for years now, where you hire a scout, they go to a certain region, they recommend you players, you sign them, they go to the youth academy, they do nothing in the youth academy. You can train them, that's about it, and then if you want to bring them into the team, then you can do so. But there's no they do nothing in the youth academy. The youth academy is absolutely shite, frankly. By having a sort of a Premier League, for example, Premier League has Premier League 2. Just have these youth leagues and have a youth football where you can where they can play and they can have average ratings and you can see how they're doing and they can grow from that. And that's sort of literally a point that I've actually only just I wasn't going to add. This might actually become a 13 points, but their form in the youth leagues could impact their actual overall and whether they go up or down. And that could give you a better indication on signing, because literally all you've got to go with right now is, they've got potential to reach something like 75 to 94. Okay, let's sign him. It just feels a little bit shit. Like I said already, it's proper wank, frankly. And by having a youth squad system and a youth league set up, you can actually see what the players are doing. A point I will be going on to is having staff and things like that. You can have a youth coach, and you could sort of talk to them, let them sort of manage the team, and then go to them to see, maybe see if they can recommend anyone, see if they can tell you when they'll be ready for first team football and things like that. There's a lot of potential by doing that, and that would also change a feature in career mode that has been so stale and so it's been the exact same for years. So yeah, while I was on it, and while it came to my head literally, then the third point is actually going to be the overall system on FIFA is, or specifically for career mode at least, is a little bit flawed in my opinion, especially for younger players. I feel like this is something they actually did do in FIFA 10, where form played a part in the overall. It did a bit in FIFA 13. You had form arrows and things, but it didn't massively impact the overall, while in FIFA 10 it actually did. And I feel like that's something that needs to be done again, simply because you get into these scenarios where players could be performing brilliantly and they're only like 62 overall, but realistically in the real world, if that player was to start getting into form in real life, in a couple of weeks FIFA would update him to be 68 or 69 instead of 62. I feel like career mode could really benefit from an overhaul. Yep, that works. And instead of it being based off just, okay, they've got they were good for a season, so here's their number, it's 81 overall, and they're going to stay like that forever, until they get older. Obviously they will downgrade a little bit, but if they get an absolute stinker, they should fall down in overall, fall down in worth. Ultimately, if someone's in awful form for 6 months, if their overall is 81 and they're 23, they're still going to be worth a shit ton. So an overall system that actually matches form would probably be a good thing to have in career mode, I feel like. Anyway, that's the third one we're just adding in. Willy-nilly, it would appear. The next one I want to discuss, this is relatively small but shouldn't be a problem, and it is a problem. Realistic transfers and loans. Now, it seems like every FIFA career mode has its own little quirk when it comes to transfers. Now, last year it was teams would just sign a ton of players in one position for no particular reason. Man United would always sign like Griezmann, Kane. They already had Ibrahimovic. Lukaku would probably go there even before he was actually there. Whereas this year it seems to be, loans are weird. You can rarely ever get players in on loan. You used to be it was a very small chance, but if you were to ask for a player on loan, if they were squad rotation or something like that, you might have a chance of getting them on loan even if they're not loan listed. Now you got no chance. But however, other teams are getting these really weird loan signings. The other day I think I was playing like Hamburg or something on my career mode with Schalke, and Drinkwater was there on loan. Who else was there? There was another English guy, and I think Danny Ings was on loan there. I can't remember completely, but there were some awfully bizarre loans. I've seen Oxlade-Chamberlain go to Sassuolo. Is that how you say it, the Italian side? It's just really bizarre, and that's something that they really need to fix. Realistic transfers shouldn't be impossible, but that it seems to be something they struggle with. It kind of stinks to me of they don't care. But yeah, realistic transfers they have to sort the transfers out. The next one's also relatively small, but it's the ability to ask for more money. They took that out. Why did they take that out? What's the point in taking that out? They obviously brought in the finances thing that I've already talked about. If you're making profit and you're in the millions, why shouldn't you be able to ask for more money? I feel like, okay, might be rejected, but you should be able to, and that comes into that point again. If you're not making that much money, you won't get any more. Simple. But if you are, you can get additional transfer budget and additional wage budget. It just seems like a pointless thing to take out, and I really want to understand why someone probably sat in an office one day and thought, you know what, we're going to take that out. It just seems bizarre. It just seems like such a small thing. They might as well leave it in. The next one is it is in there, but it's really sort of died down a little bit, and it was never massive in the first place. And that's sort of the players talking to you, and the players sort of becoming unhappy or unsettled and wanting to just leave. Now, this was something that was incredibly infuriating when it was in FIFA, I'm not going to lie, when a player would all of a sudden be like, you know what, I'm homesick. Because the homesick excuse wasn't brilliant, really, because when they're from, like, Kazakhstan, they're not going to get to go home, are they? But there was always, I don't want to play for this club anymore, I want to move to a bigger club, whatever. There was these scenarios in, and they've gone. You do still have the player interaction tab on the emails, but all that literally is can I play? Can I go on loan? Can I be transfer listed? And if you don't transfer list them, nothing really occurs of it. If you do, nothing really occurs of it, they're just transfer listed. Whereas there used to be good little sort of mini storylines, and as much as it was infuriating on occasions, it made the career mode interesting, and it was semi-realistic, especially at smaller clubs when you've got this player in form, this player who's brilliant, and Man United come sniffing, a player's going to want to leave to go to a big club. Why do they take that out? I just don't understand. But I feel like the player interaction has to become more realistic. They could add so much more to it. At this point, there's really no justification for having its own tab in the email section because it's just pointless. I feel like they could do a lot with that. And again, they should take from Football Manager, really. Football Manager is a great inspiration for that. And as much as I've said in my Why FIFA 19 is Important video, no one expects the career mode to be a Football Manager replica just where you play games. That's too big. But there are certain aspects of Football Manager that FIFA could definitely learn from, and that's one of them. My next point is actually one I've already referenced while discussing youth squads, staff and staff upgrades. Now, you used to have your own staff back in the day. Again, FIFA 06 had it. I think it stayed until around FIFA 10. I think it was FIFA 11 when it had that whole overhaul and it got incredibly crap all of a sudden. Where that went. Staff and staff upgrades are something that, again, it's just so common sense to have in a career mode. Back in the day, when it was in the game, you had certain levels for each staff member and you could pay to upgrade them, essentially. You had things like youth, I think you had assistant manager, like player coach or whatever, goalkeeper coach, attacking coach, midfield coach, defence coach. You had stadium operator, just to name, I think that was most of them. There might be one or two more, but you could upgrade them gradually, and I think you could go up to like 10 or 11. And obviously, the better you had, the better they would be. They have to try and find a way of bringing staffing back into it. Surely, staff could deal with training. That they could implement the training mode, because the training mode was added in FIFA 16, and as much as it's pretty decent. That could do with a little change, and that could be implemented through the staff upgrades and things like that. You could have you could have coaches in each area, and that could help grow or could affect the overall. If we were to implement a new overall system in career mode, it could affect the overall. A stadium manager essentially could implement what will be my next point when it comes to stadium upgrades and things like that. It just feels like, again, FIFA Manager mode, as it was back in the day, used to be quite in depth, and this was on PS2 consoles and things like that. So they really not got much of an excuse to do it again. And I feel like staff needs to be in the game, and you can have them all along your touchline instead of just you pouting around there with a few subs running about. And like I say, that goes into my next point, which is stadium upgrades. Now, this is something people have wanted for years. Now, this is especially a case for teams that are in the fake generated grounds, because it can be ridiculous at times, frankly. Either they need to add more of them, or they need to make them customizable, or even keep it out career mode where you can make your own stadiums and then use them across the game. But stadium upgrades need to be a thing. They need to have it so if you're playing at Town Park, there are abilities there to upgrade it, because when you're with Atkinson Stanley or Forest Green or whatever, and you're starting League 2 and you get to win the Champions League and you're still playing in that tin pot little ground, it's ridiculous. Stadium upgrades are something that are desperately needed, in my opinion, to make the career mode realistic. And again, I think it's just they don't want to make it massive. or it's laziness, either one of the two. But I feel like career mode has to be somewhat realistic, doesn't it? And stadium upgrades are a big part. We see Tottenham, I mean, on the career mode, Tottenham are playing at Wembley for 15 years. Tottenham are going into a new ground. It happens, funnily enough. West Ham moved grounds. There are teams that are going to build grounds, and when they get, and again, this can all these points could probably link together. I've already said it can link with a staff, with a stadium manager. It can link to the finances. If your finances are good, then why not expand your stadium or get a new stadium? Like I say, this is especially the case for teams in the fake generated grounds. Obviously, I think it might be a bit difficult to do that sort of thing with grounds that are real. One, is that covered in the license? You never know. And two, how would they do it? I feel like something they should do is, if there's a team that's planning on expansion or is in the process of getting ready to expand or is moving to a new ground, they should look to try and add that new ground in and have that ready in the year that they plan to move in. And again, Football Manager does that. So for example, if Spurs this year instead have it programmed that they will move to the new White Hart Lane, there are so many computer generated images and draw artists interpretations of the new ground for FIFA, for EA Sports to create it, and then from 2018 you can play a new White Hart Lane, things like that. But stadium upgrades really should be on the game in my opinion. The next one's kind of similar, kit customization, because after years of using the same kit it gets a little bit shit, and this is something that's been on people's minds for years, similar to the stadium one. Some people say there might be an issue surrounding things like licensing and, you know, change the possibilities of changing a team's kit supplier when they're with that kit supplier. However, I feel like it could be dug around that sort of issue. For one thing, they already have licenses with Nike, Adidas, Umbro, Puma, things like Mitre as well, for things like footballs and boots and things like that. Why can't they do that for a kit customizer? In terms of main sponsorship, you can either have a choice of, you just leave it at the same one and you can't touch that. So, for example, Man City's Etihad Airlines, that will stay in the centre of the kit. You just customise the rest of it. What you could do is, once you've because of licensing, you can't change. Well, we'll use Man City again. Man City from Nike. So it has to be a Nike kit, but you can pick from Nike templates, because Nike have a load of templates. You can edit them. They have that sort of one where you have the different colour or the different shade of colour on the sleeves to the rest of the body. You could edit the colours of that and things like that. If you can pick, you can have a list of the manufacturers. You can pick which one you want, and then you could just go through the templates for the team you want to customize a kit for. This wouldn't be just for career mode. This could be for the game as a whole, and you could also potentially use bring back the fake sponsors, because that used to be a feature on FIFA career modes as well. You could pick sponsorships and you'd get there'd be certain incentives to using each one. Bring them back, and that could be added on the sponsorship boardings, because the sponsorship boardings are quite plain and unrealistic. It's literally EA Sports social channels and Ultimate Team, and then maybe the league. So there are multiple options there. If they can't do that, at least add more third kits, because bloody hell, it's a nightmare sometimes. Blackburn, QPR, Portsmouth, off the top of my head, Reading. The blue and white issue is so annoying. I can't tell you how annoying it is. There are certain, obviously, they have the third kits of major teams and teams in the top leagues. Seriously, just add more. Why is it an issue? It shouldn't be an issue. Maybe add them. They used to have the EA shop, which was similar to the catalogue system we got now. Add third kits, and they had third kits in that, and you could essentially use your coin things that you earned through the game on the kits. Maybe do that again. Just stop making it so tedious, please. The next one is again kind of for the whole game, and it's one I touched on in the last video. In the last video I did, the Wi-Fi. Don't know how noticeable it was there, but the audio stopped recording and it cut out. In my last video I talked about this. More leagues would help the game as a whole, but obviously it would also impact career mode quite a bit. The more leagues in career mode, the better. This includes third tiers and second tiers of various other countries. More leagues in England, more leagues in Germany, Scotland, wherever, I don't care. Ukraine, Serbia, Croatia, that's a whole new video in its own right. But more leagues would ultimately help FIFA and career mode out a lot, because it gives us more variety, more places to go, more places to play. So yeah, that's another one. We're on to the final two now. These are two I actually thought of quite late on, and the first one is very obvious to me. The international jobs and the international section of the game, essentially. Just change it up a bit. It's a bit plain. It's fairly boring. It doesn't last very long. It really doesn't. I don't know how they could do this particularly. For one thing, it's quite unrealistic to assume that the manager will always go to the club and will stay at the club and manage internationally. That's a choice. I feel like it should be a choice. I feel like if you want to go international, especially considering it doesn't even look like we're going to get in a World Cup game this year, it would be quite nice to be able to just focus on internationals. That's something they could do, where you can send scouts and shit like that to watch everyone, to watch maybe youngsters having like international under-21s. I was going to use England as an example to see the ones coming through. I just feel like it's, unless you're really, really into that, you're not going to touch international jobs. I feel like you should have the option to turn it off as well, because getting fucking emails all the time is annoying as hell. So yeah, the international side of it needs to have a complete either rejig or just take it out. And the final point I wanted to bring up here is the job searches, and when you want to move teams. Now, when it comes to career mode, you tend to not really want to anyway. You tend to pick a team and you want to see it through. However, sometimes you do want to do like a journeyman or something like that, and leaving your club could be something that you quite want to do. But if you ever look at the section, it's essentially the same clubs just rotated round. They go in a circle. So say if you are you're in Italy or something, if you check once, there'll be a few in England, and then there'll be a few in Germany, then a few in Spain, then a few in England again, then the same ones again, same teams in Germany, same teams in Spain, same teams in England, blah 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 blah. Not only that, it's quite unrealistic what jobs are available. Quite often, if you're at, like, say West Ham or something, you'll have Man United, Man City, Everton, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and these teams quite often won't be in a shit situation. These teams will be first, second, third, fourth, whatever. Why would they be available on that basis? Just the whole sort of job searches and the managers moving about should be so much more realistic. They should use the news section as something that hasn't been touched for years. And anyway, I'm even making this video, I'm just thinking of more things they need to change and need to freshen up. You can have, so and so is sacked. Have favourites for the job. And so is on the brink of a sack or whatever. And then clubs will sack their managers when they deserve it. When the scenario is bad for a club. So not when Man City are unbeaten on top of the league, but if Man City are 8th in the league and really struggling, get rid of the manager. Simple as that. And I feel like that could be so much more realistic, just generally. And for some people, that is something that's something that they want. So just change that up, make it more realistic. That's my final point, but now I think about it, that is the biggest thing. Just make everything more realistic. Seriously. Career mode has been left to rust quite a bit in the last few years, and it's about time that they change something, and it's about time they really have to change something. So hopefully they will. We just gotta hope they do. They might not, but what more can we do at this point? For years, some of these things have been on like Wishlist for years, not added, but whatever. Okay, that's 12, which turns into 13 things needed in career mode, not necessarily in FIFA 19, but in the near future, the next few FIFAs. If there's any more I missed and that you feel like need to be pointed out, comment section, leave your thoughts. If you enjoy FIFA content, specifically FIFA career mode content, there'll be certainly more coming up, and there has been quite a bit put on the channel already. We're doing a CAN career mode at the moment. I'm not uploading it as frequently as I probably should, but it will be continuing, so check that out if you haven't already. There'll be another career mode starting soonish, and there'll be more videos like this, I imagine, as well. So if that's something you're into, why not subscribe? Take a punt on a smaller guy on YouTube. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up everything I want to say. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.